World Trigger. I'm pulling it up right now. I don't have it open. I should, though. This is World Trigger chapter 249. The Away Mission Test part 41. Last we left off, we are continuing the battle, the Away Mission Test, where everybody is confined to a specific space, and they are conducting mock battles through this kind of video game type thing, while also doing special assignments, like little homework type things. And last we left off, there was a message from the higher ups about a rule change coming. And they explain. We open this chapter while explaining that the total squad budget for the mock battles that happen during this has increased from 12,000 to 18,000. And a victory could previously be achieved by a margin of 2,000 points or more. The requirement is now 3,000 points. Yeah, everybody's like, it's 1.5 times the budget. So, it's going to get harder. Everybody's going to have more resources to spend. And so they start to fuck around and make new, they're trying to think of new strategies, basically. Osamu explains that they're going to continue to take the general approach to these battles that they had the other day, where they were doing really well while predicting their opponent's counter strategies. And the way they did that is that they had allotted for a certain amount of budget to go to these sniper units that would scour about and just shoot people from a distance, but they would only have like 2 or 3 shots or something. But basically, Osamu explains that based on their major wins, they can expect that other squads will counter their strategies. So the roadblock will be defense-oriented units that would specifically countermeasure against these weaker little snipers. And so Osamu has seemed to create a new unit, which is this weird-looking Tryon soldier with a regular kind of humanoidish body, but with those rad heads that look like little spider things as the head. And they basically are there to counter the tanks, like the stronger defense-oriented units. Basically, they're basically copying a strategy from Utagawa's squad by making a weird-looking Tryon soldier to kind of throw off the more defensive-oriented units. So, that seems to be their strategy. And yeah, it's a lot of talking about the strategy of this video game type stuff. And they kind of decide on their strategy, and we then cut over to the HQ management desk, where the higher ups of Border are discussing the test so far. Murakami is on the top of the squad, the charts with 600 points, and Suwa Squad is in second place. Long way they came. I believe they were bottom of the barrel in the first few days of the exam, so it's cool to see them increase in rank. And Kakizaki and Kitazoa and more Mizukami squads are doing pretty well as well. And they talked to Chief Kiriyama, who is a new character. It's the first time we met him, and he's the chief engineer for Border. He's the guy who I guess manufactures all the Tryon, the triggers and all that stuff. And his name is Ryoji Kiriyama. So, pretty cool. And the chief asks, the president, the leader of Border, asks about his opinion on how the exam is proceeding. And Kiriyama is kind of he's kind of modest. He's like, that's a big ask for a simple tech guy like me. He's like, I'm just a tech support, bro. But I still won't have any slick insights like the way that Masa and Taku do. Masa being Shinoda and Taku being, I forget this guy's name, but he looks like Colonel Hughes. And Oh, Rindo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rindo. So he explains that like he's guessing that Murakami's squad will hold on to the lead and win overall because unlike yesterday, they've all got a solid pool of tactics. So those working with actual brain power are bound to have the advantage. So he just thinks they're going to stay ahead because they've been pretty smart so far. Nezumi, the business guy, is like, well, Murakami's squad has perhaps spent too much time on counter strategies for the Sims, an inefficient approach considering their other assignments. And he's like, yeah, I guess efficiency counts for something, but knowing when to toss the efficiency out the window can be a strength sometimes. And the head operator lady explains that on the other side of the spectrum, Suicide Squad, which didn't waste much time on strategy, we have Suicide Squad, which didn't spend much time strategizing today. And Kiriyama explains that when you pit raw effort against raw effort, the stronger side usually comes up. So instead, Suwa opted to work smarter, not harder, by making use of Mikumo's creative thinking. And he said, imagine investing a bunch of time and energy into these Sims only to lose. So, at least this strategy avoids disappointment no matter what. And it's very similar to how Mizukami ran things, where in a less voluntary way, Mizukami would just decide on the strategy for the squad and just go for it without really informing them of his intentions. And Commander Kido asks Kinuda about the combat phase of the exam, which we're all desperately waiting for, I imagine. And Kinuda's like, yeah, we're nearly done testing the additional rule. Special rule. And they explain that there's also going to be a few revisions to the rules overall. So, it's not going to be just like the rank wars. It seems to be a very different type of battle situation that they're going to throw these guys into, which I'm so excited for. I guess the operator literally just comes forward and says what one of the new rules are. And it seems to be a big thing that operators are going to be joining the battlefield. Which is very interesting because the operators are usually so stationary and they the idea is that they would kind of stay in the ship. But now they're going to be field agents, just like the rest of them. Nezumi is kind of doubtful of it. He's like, I'm not entirely sure. But the head operator is like down for it. She is in. It feels more forward thinking to take non-combatants out and make them more capable of emergence from the ship. And Nezumi's like, I'm only thinking about their safety, I'm worried about that. But Kiriyama counters with like, hey, this is going to be a longer trip. Usually away missions are shorter. So, we have to kind of account for, more things going crazy. We have to do right about it. And Nezumi is like, yeah, never mind. I forget about that. So Kinuda mentions the final special assignment. And it looks like it's going to go as planned. And the rest of the chapter is pretty much explaining the rounds between the teams. At the end of the day, Suicide Squad walks away with about 4 wins and 5 losses and 1 draw. And at the end of the day, they reach second place in the Daily Sims. Not second place. They're 4th place. They're tied with 4th with Kuruma. And in the overall rankings, they're still pretty much very far ahead in second place, just underneath Mizukami. They're doing really well. Wait, hold on. Is this the Sealed Environment's current rankings? The Sealed Environment Phase 3 out of 22 rankings. They're second place again as well there. Wakamura Squad, I guess, wins the day. They're in first place at 1,920 points. So, yeah, they're doing good.
They really turned it around.
Yeah, they figured it out. But I think this is just like the daily thing because I believe their overall score is that Wakamura Squad ended up is in 8th place currently. So, yikes. But anyway, they log off for the days. They're about to go eat, and then Katori notices that the door to the food pantry won't open. Because these things are operated by Tryon. She presses it and it doesn't open. So, what's going on?
Uh-oh.
Rutro, and that's World Trigger, chapter 249. Josh, what did you think about this chapter?
Shit is about to get critical.
You think so?
Yeah, you got 4 people that probably won't be able to eat for like maybe a day or 2. They might force them to fast.
Damn.
Or like maybe they'll end up having emergency rations or something like that to simulate like the possibility of that happening. That would be crazy. Anyway, I am anticipating the combat portion of the test like everyone else is, but I am really enjoying this aspect too, with the Tryon soldiers and stuff. I've been enjoying this entire arc, but I feel like there's a lot of teams to like keep track of, as far as like seeing their development and what they improve on. So I just wonder how long we're gonna stay on Tamakoma, because I'm sure they're gonna shift to another group to focus on. I'm really looking. I'm interested in what Wakamura squad. That's his name, right? Wakamura, the guy that had that huge that little arc.
Yeah, Rokumura.
Yeah. So maybe we'll see what's up with that team. I think I really like how oh man, it's been so long since I've read World Trigger. What is the girl's name again?
Katori? Which
With
one?
the dark Katori. Thank you. Yeah, I really like how she's like adjusted. Even when they started like when the strategy started to fuck up, like she didn't blame Osamu or nothing like that. I know they already had their moments like earlier in the arc, but it's just nice to see. I think she's gonna be like a really a big key character like later on. You know what I mean? You know, I know a lot of other characters get shine, but I think there's something special about Katori. I think the author gives her like a lot of attention. I don't really have anything else to say. Brian, what are your thoughts?
I think Katori is kind of like a foil to Osamu, right? Like,
Yeah, definitely.
she's a physical fucking prodigy, and Osamu's a student of hard work. So they're both. That's kind of like their whole thing, right? This was a pretty. I'm just curious. I don't have many thoughts on this chapter, but I'm really curious as to what happened with Wakamura Squad because they have been on a tear since he went through his whole like earth-shattering earth-shattering thing that he went through earlier. So maybe he just became a fucking beast after that. I don't know what happened, but Wakamura Squad really fucking picked up. So that's where my attention mostly went towards this chapter. Mizukami Squad is also going fucking sicko mode. But I can't imagine that it's gonna hold up in the combat phase for that squad. I think there's gonna be a lot of the bottom ranked teams for the sealed environment that are gonna really fucking cut loose when it comes to the combat section. So I'm curious how that's going to play out.
I think Wakamura. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say one more thing. Having the operators be on the field now, such a good fucking change. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see how that turns out. because so if they get taken out, does that mean like basically all of their comms are going to be absolutely fucked? Is that what's going to happen?
I would think that they're gonna find a way to make them like kind of mobile. I don't think they're gonna be straight up combatants. And I don't know if they're gonna do it all the time, but I think they would like to have the capability to have operators be more mobile for the sake of a longer mission where you never know what's gonna happen, and they're gonna need to be more variable in the way they operate. No pun intended.
So like if they die, they'll still be able to do their job, right? Or are they just fucked? Like if because that would mean that if they can't do their job after like their Tryon bodies are taken out, then they're gonna be the most like public enemy number one on battlefields every single time. People are gonna be hunting for these operators immediately, right off the jump.
Yeah, I mean,
rank. You're talking about like rank wars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they're not going to be. There's not a strategy to have the like behind them being more mobile. Like they're just going to throw them out there.
Yeah, but even if they are more mobile, that's not going to stop. I feel like
well, it's better. I think
sitting ducks compared to like.
I think the idea is that they won't be stationary, stuck in a ship, and somebody could just go straight for the ship and destroy the ship, and they'll have no operator.
Yeah. That's but my point is like them participating in battles is going to be interesting because like it completely shifts the dynamic of battle, right? Like usually people are focusing like other enemies, but once operators are around, like they become the easiest thing to kill. You know what I mean? I just wonder how they're gonna function on a battlefield, how they're gonna be able to protect themselves. Like, do they get triggers? Like, what are operators going to be able to do to survive on their own? Because at that point, it's just going to become squads, like, kind of protecting their operators, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's interesting.
I guess they'd have to like figure out like a strategic infrastructure around that. Either make them more a little more combat ready, or have a strategy around protecting them. But
they're definitely going to have bagworms 100%.
Yeah,
I think are going to be bagworm merchants.
Yeah, I think. I think this test is going to be basically the first we see of operators actually being on the field, because every team has an operator, so they'll probably put them on the field of these battle exams just to test how it's going to go.
Yeah, that's going to be a crazy thing. I can't because I can't even think of how it's going to look like.
Yeah, I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, theoretically they should be like sitting ducks for the most part. Like I'm just curious how it's going to pan out. Wait, aren't there some operators that are like former like?
I think so.
Former soldiers.
I think there might be like former fighters in that are not operators, but I don't remember exactly who.
Could you imagine like a former Tryon, a former trigger, like what are they called? Border agent, a former like full-fledged border agent just pulls out a fucking ray gus and just beats people's ass.
That'd be cool. It might, as far as how the whatever like battle simulation however that manifests itself, I think is going to be a situation where you got to defend a base. That's what I'm thinking. I think these operators.
Oh, that would be pretty good.
At the end of the day, like the way the operators function is that they look at the terrain. They have a map and they can see. They have like visuals on like people in like different situations. And it's hard to just do that when you're outside with your own eyeballs. I mean, everyone else can fucking see, what you can see. You know what I mean? So you're not much of a help. So I think they're still going to have some type of technology, and maybe they could walk around with it or travel, and they'll have some like fucking helmet or something like that. But I think realistically, that's hard. You know what I mean?
Wait, I think you're onto something with that, with like a base of operations within the maps and stuff like that.
I think for the test, for sure. I don't know how they're going to, in the away mission, I don't know how that's going to manifest, but like, I think for the test, yeah.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking it's gonna be like every team chooses a spot that only they know to start. Like they choose a spot on the map to be their base of operations. And then teams would have to like go around and try to find their base essentially and take them out.
Yeah, you gotta weigh offense versus defense. How much, how many people you're gonna send out to attack versus defend. I don't know.
I feel like that's a pretty cool element to add. I think that would be sick if they do like bases and shit.
Yeah.
God, the more World Trigger gets fleshed out and like, the more more that these like combat scenarios get more fleshed out, it just becomes more and more fun. Like I just want to play a game of World Trigger. Honestly, it's such a fun thing to read. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this chapter of World Trigger. I thought it was. I do think that portion where they were discussing operators was very fun, and meeting the chief engineer was cool. But yeah, the game part is not something I ever really connected with in this, unfortunately. Like just the mechanics of the game. I would not like this video game in real life. It's a little too. I don't know. It's very hardcore gamer, which I'm not.
It is hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is for real gamers. Like it's that type of shit. So, I think it's interesting. I do like seeing. I like the idea, the watching them and like find solutions for this. But the part about the game itself has never been all that interesting with me. That being said, I do love World Trigger. Obviously, I'm excited to see where this goes, and I'm curious because this is this part where they're going to be short on food is obviously part of the exam, and it might be actually that special assignment that they mentioned when they were talking about this stuff. So I'm excited to see how that goes. Maybe they have to combine their Tryon in order to open certain things and gain access to food, or it is just maybe a test of how teams react to a lack of resources. So I think it's going to be very interesting, and seeing how World Trigger writes people very realistically. I'm excited to see how people problem solve this part of it. But that's all I got to say about World Trigger. Any rebuttals? Anything else to say?
No.
Alrighty.
I fucking hope. I hope, that we somehow get like a World Trigger video game.
That would be nice.
We need it.
Like a Rank Wars-esque.
Yes. You link up with your boys. You drop in a random zone.
Yeah.
I mean, they have entire fucking open world maps already. Like Fortnite is the giant island. They could make a city that's like, at
different
least
triggers,
a quarter of the size. Yes, you could customize your character that you go in with. You can have like 2 different loadouts. Listen, don't get me started, Get me fucking started. That would be one of the most awesome games ever.
Yeah.
That shit would be better than Marvel Rivals. I said it.
Definitely.
And I gotta give Brian my Marvel Rivals name. I forgot. My bad, bro.
It's all good.